Hi, everybody.
Hey, Bitcoin Liberty Live is back with episode 61. Chugging away here remotely. I'm in Hawaii.
Yeah, this guy's like off goofing around in freaking paradise.
I, I'm relaxing on the beach. I'm just sitting on the beach right now, sand on my toes.
And I'm grinding. Like, I'm here grinding. But, we
Daniel
on
is,
Twitter.
yes,
I'm on Twitter. Hi, everybody. Anybody that's joining? Or one Rumble.
Daniel's, Daniel's grinding away on business and day to day operational stuff. I'm cheerleading in the
That's
background where I can, and
a Mai
per-
Tai in his hand, just like, yeah, I do a lot of. Oh,
I'm
boy.
like, anyway, taking a break. I needed a week off from a fiat, a little bit of a stint of a grind myself. Back at it next week, but celebrating my son's high school graduation. We got family and stuff visiting, so
Nice. That's very cool.
promoting my second oldest son into his next stage of life, and all is doing very well there. So, but
Yeah,
anyway,
standing. What happened to
life
Bitcoin?
is
Bitcoin?
good.
Is Bitcoin still there?
Bitcoin is, yeah. Blocks are validating.
Are they?
It's
Okay, good.
blocks still running.
I was worried Bitcoin might have gone away while I was kind of focusing on other things.
Yeah, I got very distracted and wasn't paying attention for a good long while. And miraculously, who would have thought? I went
TikTok
and
next
checked
block.
it. Blocks are still validating. Incredibly amazing.
Yeah, looks like it's
Price went up,
yeah,
price went down, price went up.
yeah. People get really excited about that kind of stuff, man. Did you see the thing where there's like some old ancient wallet is moving like 10,000 Bitcoin at a pop? Like that, woo, boy, everyone just loves piling on. It's really funny
Yeah,
watching Bitcoin Twitter because everyone is just like they're kind of almost like news guys, they just sit there and just wait for something and they're just like, God, and then they all just like glom in on it, right?
sure.
Wow, what a glomming that was. It's like, hey, old coins are moving. Oh my God, what's it mean? Is it Roger Ver? Is it this? Is it that?
Yeah,
I mean, just
who
like,
is it?
yeah, who is it? Who's doing it? Why? How? Blah, what's it mean?
I find it interesting, but it is a lot of clickbait speculation.
Yeah,
When an old wallet moves, somebody's a giant has woken up on the mountain and rolled a rock down, and it's
yeah,
kind of like, ooh, I'm kind of curious. At the same time, I mean, so some of the comments, it was like, if Satoshi's wallet ever moves, Bitcoin's over, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me?
no, it's not.
Uh,
Yeah,
Bitcoin, so Satoshi could like dispense of himself of all of his Bitcoin, and some fiat might go somewhere, and everybody would like freak out about it. Bitcoin's price would be affected, but proportionally, like if there was a 10-20% drawdown in price, that's just another month in the
yeah,
in
it's just another day in Bitcoin.
yeah, it's a month in Bitcoin. Meanwhile, all the pressures of the real economy are pushing. The big beautiful print is happening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, probably. I mean, they just passed this. Like, it's really fun to watch all the people that were sort of like all the disillusioned like Republicans, like, oh my God, I can't believe I thought they were going to cut spending. I'm like, what made you think that? Like, why? I mean, it was kind of a fun fantasy. Like, I was like, wow, wouldn't that be crazy if this team actually got in there and was like serious? Like, they just went, no, we're actually going to do this, regardless of political consequences, regardless of what happens to us. We're going to cut the size of government. That would have been like, but it's an impossibility. Like it's just like you would have to be a next level kind of human being to pull that off, right? So now we got Elon Musk making like little like we're gonna start the America Party and blah 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 blah. It's just like, dude,
Yeah,
dude.
good luck. I mean, kind of like Ross Perot. It reminds me of some of. I mean, great movement, great conversation, great charts.
What
It
up, Travis?
Yeah,
What's
hey, welcome. We see you. Thanks for joining.
yeah, nice
Uh,
to see you, sir.
Travis just waits watching for us to go live. It's like, oh, we try to do it at 10 a.m. and then by noon we're rolling.
Yeah, that's
But
Next week it's going to be a fixed time every single week,
Yeah,
guaranteed. So we're going
we
to be
have.
on the money.
Yeah, Bitcoin Liberty Live has refocused its efforts, and we are committed to 10 a.m. Pacific every Saturday. Right?
Yeah, right.
Yes, 10 a.m.
10
10
a.m.
a.m. Pacific. Join us every week. We will be here.
Right.
That's a guarantee, a
Yeah,
Bitcoin guarantee,
mostly. Yeah.
mostly.
We're supposed to have a super secret, super special guest coming on, but I don't know where he is.
Yeah, we may get joined here by a special friend. We'll see if that
A
occurs
super
here. But
secret special guest.
yep,
Huge. You
you'll
know.
have a surprise.
Yeah.
Sort of like the surprise guest. Wasn't it like, was it Bitcoin 2024? There was going to be a big surprise guest, and
Yeah.
the it was like Elon Musk was flying that way, and then decided to turn around. And was
That's
it
a green
Elon?
screen, Travis. That's totally a green screen. He's faking it, dude.
Yeah, right. I'm not in Hawaii right now. Check this out.
Yeah, that's green screen. He's in a basement somewhere.
Guess guess which beach? Look at that marina.
The parking lot is beautiful.
That is a nice parking lot.
Yeah.
That's a
Wow.
lagoon.
Wow.
There's the beach.
You know,
Anyway, I may go
Travis,
snorkeling later.
snorkeling? Really?
I love snorkeling.
Do you really?
It's fun. If you've never done it, or I mean, you don't even have to get out in deep water. You can just wade out in certain beaches and dunk your head, and you have no idea what's right under the water. Like in these healthy ecosystems and random places, the fish and stuff you never seen before. There's an area where turtles just kind of hang out a little bit. It's crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
They
Oh,
come
it's
up,
awesome. I love it.
snap your little hand off or something?
If you bring food out, there's fish food, and you can dabble some food out there, and you get fish nibbling on your nethers. Like,
Really?
oh, they're just all over you. Yeah, they
That's
love you. It's fun.
nice. Oh, that sounds
Yeah,
fun.
I might do that later.
Well, January, MicroSeed is an official sponsor of the Max and Stacy second annual invitational golf tournament. We got it closest to the pinhole. Super excited about that. We're
That's
on my
awesome.
getting ready for El Salvador. So you gonna
We're
come
going to be
down?
in El Salvador.
Yeah.
Hey, Travis, you going to El Salvador in January? Go golfing.
Well, I've only got two golf tickets. I met a guy like me and Robin Sayer went to a dinner with Larry Lepard, James Lavish. Who else was there? Uh, yeah, it was Larry Lepard, James Lavish, Dominic Frisbee, a couple other guys, and then some like sort of plebs. But one of the plebs is like this really cool guy, but he's like a 10 handicap or something. I'm like, dude, you should come down and play golf with me, man. And then I talked to Rob, and he's like, "What? You already threw me off the team? I just got on the team, dude." So I don't know. I got to figure out who all is going. I've got like two pool party tickets and two golf tickets. So I don't know what it would take to add some extra guests on there, or if people just want to come down and hang out and enjoy like be a spectator. I think spectator tickets are kind of cheap, but um, yeah, but we're gonna be partying. We're gonna have fun, man. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be El Salvador.
Yeah,
You've been there before like twice now, right, Travis?
yeah. Travis has been there a couple times, I think.
Yeah.
And now, even if you don't go golfing or whatever, um, just come and hang out and see the scene, be part of the Bitcoin get together.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, man. Hanging out with Max and Stacy and
Yeah,
some really bad golf. It's gonna be outstanding.
I'm I am not good at golf. I'm going to have to learn how to actually swing again. But
Well, you're off
so
the tee too.
uh, big beautiful Bill thoughts. Uh,
God,
so
fucking joke.
not to focus on kind of uh, uh, the morbid, but the um, the ridiculous. But the big beautiful bill. The money does not exist to pay for this shit again and again and again. Where does that come from? Like, so what? So here's my thoughts. You okay? Issue treasury bonds or just flat out print the money. Um, Meanwhile, there's all this pressure on Jerome Powell to like get rid of them now or replace them later. Regardless, interest rates and all that. The money is going to flow, I think, and that money seeks safe harbors and hard assets. Wouldn't it?
You think? I don't know. I mean,
Wouldn't it?
like that was funny. Because I keep hearing about it, and I literally devoted zero attention to it. Like I just kind of go, like a lot of this like political stuff. I just go, I don't care. And like I was on Robin's podcast. It's going to be coming out in a couple weeks here. When I was in
Yes.
Prague, and I spent a lot of time talking about like the themes that were in my book, right? Which is like this is a game of competitive resource capture, right? The thing we are playing is competitive resource capture. The more resources you control, the better you're doing in the game. And if you want like a good metric, I kind of thought about it for a while. And like a good metric of whether or not you're a player in the game or you're just a resource is like how easy is it to arrest you, right? And
Interesting.
you go, well, like just imagine someone saying, "We're going to go arrest Larry Fink." You go, how hard is that going to be? And especially if Larry Fink goes, you know what, go screw yourself. Like I'm going to throw a bunch of lawyers and shit in the way, and good luck with that, right? And so when you think about someone like Trump, when he got buttoned up, and they were throwing all this like lawfare at him, a lot of people going, "Oh my God, it's the Constitution, and what are we doing?" and blah 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 blah, and sitting president or former president, yakety schmackety schmack. And I go, that's all like those are all resource rules. Those are all rules for people like us to get all worked up about. But in terms of the game of competitive resource capture, what that shows you is the people that are in control of resources are so weak that they are resorting to resource rules to try and rein in another player, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when you've relegated yourself that deeply, that means like what you have is a very powerful player that you can't do anything about. And so, like Trump is a player in the game of competitive resource capture. Elon Musk is a player in the game of competitive resource capture. You and I aren't. So we can sit here and fuss and whine about yada yada yada, oh the bill and what's going to happen to the bill. Like that doesn't have any impact on any of those people. All it does is the whole purpose of any of this stuff is to extract as much resources from us as possible, to maximally exploit us human beings as resources, right? So
Like a farm,
yeah, exactly. Like you're a farmed animal, and
an
and it's
animal farm.
yeah, 100%. So when people are fussing about it, I go, it's the same thing as a sheep bleeding in a farmer's, I don't know, a rancher's, pasture. The sheep can sit there and bleat all they want until they stampede or run over the gate or do something destructive. The farmer will just sit there and listen to them bleat. And if he can get a little more wool out of them, if he can get a little more like meat out of them, that's what he's going to do, and that's what they're going to orient towards. And so, all of these rules, whether you're a capitalist or a anarchist or a liberalist or a whatever is communist, socialist, all those isms are just ways to extract resources out of you and me. Right? That's the matrix. And
Yeah.
so, if people think they can escape the matrix by finding a different matrix, I go, that's not the way this is going to play, dude. So that's why Bitcoin is a big deal because it changes the matrix. It changes the nature of the matrix itself. It's a fundamental shift in the matrix, and that's why when people are talking about this stuff, I literally can't devote any attention to it because it's listening to the blathering of sheep. It's just blah, blah, we don't like this, blah. But it's like you're not, yeah, but you're not doing anything, dude. Like
Good
So
analogy.
thank you.
Every once in a while, it is cathartic to bleat. I bleat. I will.
I
I
believe you. Yeah,
I'm a bleat guy. Reply bleat guy sometimes.
yeah,
But as you bleat, does Bitcoin change the nature of this game?
yes,
Ding 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 ding.
right, yeah. Like buy Bitcoin. Like you get first crack at a very different game that we're playing, right? And if you're talking about the game of competitive resource capture, if you've already captured some of that resource, like think about what that means. Like I don't think people have really wrapped their head around like, oh, I own the hardest asset to grab. Like in 10 years when everyone is scrambling for that asset, you go, I'm one of those people. I've already got it. That's huge. That's a huge,
Yep.
huge thing. And they can't come and bonk you on the head and take it. I mean, they can force you to give it up, but you can also resist to your death, but they can't take it from you. So, you know, Like there has never been property like that in the history of mankind. Not since the first guy planted a garden has there been property that someone else can't come along, bonk you out in the head, and take from you. Gold,
Yeah.
whatever, right? So like the layers of protection that Elon Musk has from someone bonking him on the head and taking his shit are pretty deep, right? The layers you have around you, the layers I have around me are zero. Well, not true because both of us are Bitcoin holders. So we have a massive layer, a massive wall around us that people can't take our property. They can come take your life, they can come take your cars, they can take your property. Can't get the Bitcoin. So
To extend that analogy, we're a bunch of sheep on the animal farm. You wake up in the morning and you've been fleeced a little bit, and you're like, "What the heck?" Or to be honest, you don't even notice because it's just you're just, oh
oh,
yeah, that just happens. I
it's
mean,
fleet.
it's just the cost of doing business. If I'm going to eat my grass, I guess my butt got shaved this morning. Huh? Okay. Um,
Yeah,
I was thinking about, I was doing some math on paycheck and other business costs, and I realized I just sort of neglected to factor in the amount that I get taxed before I even see it. And unless I look at my pay stub regularly or stop and think about it, in my head, I get so much a month.
right,
If I really stop and think about it, my gross pay is like, my God, I could be, you know, I make this much money.
right,
And then realistically, I make this much money.
right.
And it's just I don't even think about it because I wake up in the morning and my ass has been shaved. And it's like, I don't even look down there. I don't look
Yeah,
down there.
yeah.
It just feels breezy. And I'm just like, yeah, my ass just feels breezy all the time. Um, Now, Bitcoin is like, um, you can harden the fuck up or put some armor on your fleece there. I don't know what that analogy would be, but
You don't get
they
fleet,
go to
fleece it.
they go to fleece it and it's like, like shit.
It's
Uh,
not fair. Yeah,
we
yeah,
can't get that. Hey, now you may still be on the farm. The next level might be, you get out of the farm.
maybe.
I don't know what that is. If you can escape that, you might have to move to El Salvador. Oh,
Well, here's the thing: is like what you said is spot on, right? And I would point out, and I'm actually writing an article about this right now about the game of competitive resource capture because I want to kind of hone in on what I said in the book and kind of flesh it out a little bit better, make it a little more accessible, maybe. But the I had a girlfriend that was a doctor, right? And she was working here in New Mexico. And because there's a massive shortage of doctors here, she is in family medicine was commanding a salary of about 325,000 a year, right?
wow.
Yeah, you hear that and you go, "Oh my god, that's huge." Do you know how much she brought home every year? About 170. You go, "Wait a minute." So like when I was making like 120 grand a year or whatever, I was bringing home about 85 and you go, "Wow." So like the more that ramps, like for you to break free of like the 150,000 range take home, you got to be making just ass piles of money, dude. Like just extraordinary amounts of money. But the funny thing about it is she could lever herself based off the gross, right? So she could lever up all kinds of crazy shit.
Right.
If you are a person who is in control of resources, meaning people are resources. If you're the person in control of resources, wouldn't it benefit you to make sure that you can maximally extract value from those resources? For instance, if you become a person who can command a $325,000 salary, you really want to hammer the shit out of them to make sure that they can't creep up and become a player, right? How do you do that? Well, progressive taxation. So you can get people to a place where they're very comfortable. They get a lot of material comforts. They get a lot of ability to get further into debt, but they never really get to the place where they can challenge you as a resource hoarder, as a resource controller, right? So they have to do a bunch of extra stuff if they want to do that. They have to invest, but they have to invest in your things, the things that you already own and the things that you already control. So they further enhance your ability to control resources by becoming more productive and by being a source of more productivity for you, right? And so if you rinse and repeat that throughout the entire economy, you'll understand why about $100,000 is about the functional cap of what you can make as a resource without creating more things that create more power and more resources for the people above you to collect. So it's like this constant. So to escape that requires an enormous amount of effort for the plebs. You have to start a business, and that business has to be exponentially growing. And then you have to play all the games to get to a place where you can capture more resources, like Elon Musk did, at extraordinary risk to his own personal wealth. He went
Yeah.
being a resource to being someone that created and commanded a pretty fair amount of resources through PayPal and shit like that. But then he risked all of that and levered the shit out of himself to now become an actual legit player. Like he is a person that is a command of massive amounts of resources. So he's an incredibly powerful player on the board. But the beauty of Bitcoin is like if you own like one Bitcoin, there will be a point in time when you will be in command of just that one resource. You will have access to control enormous resources just based on that one Bitcoin. So that
Right.
changes the game so much because it distributes that power away from people that have all the traditional skills of resource capture and filters it down to people that have no skills as resource capture. So how they lever that power is going to be very, very interesting to see. But
Hmm.
the people that are right now in control of resources that also control Bitcoin are also going to become exponentially more powerful in the resource capture game. So it changes the dynamics of the game and how it plays. But the one core constant to that, up until Bitcoin, the most powerful thing you could have in the world is a nuclear weapon. After Bitcoin, I think they're kind of on par. You see what I'm saying? Like that's how
Right.
it is. So, like, just imagine if you had a nuke in your back pocket. Like, no one can come take your property anymore. Well, they can, but it's at great risk. You go, well, you take my property, I'm going to blow up New York. They go, ooh, that's a problem. We don't want to do that. So you see what I'm saying? Like, but having
Yeah.
Bitcoin puts you in a similar league. Like, I control a vast amount of property that you guys want and you can't take. So why don't we negotiate? You see, I mean,
Yeah.
it's profound, dude. It's a really, really big deal.
Yeah. Bitcoin's a big deal in that regard. When you frame kind of the laws of power in life, power and control, it'd be like not just the 48 laws of power, but like kind of like the singular law of power in our road into the future. Bitcoin just gives, currently it's at a price where, some average plebs today can grab the handle of
Mm-hmm.
the law of power of the future,
Mm-hmm.
and you shift yourself from being an observer or an NPC or just simply a resource
Correct.
into being a player.
Correct.
And that changes, like for me, it's changed my sort of thinking about, like we've talked about this before, but like when Bitcoin changes your frame on life or your thinking or sort of your imaginations about future potential and what how you live your life, not just time preference, but also what you may be able to leverage in the future. Um, it shifts your thinking, and like what you're saying, being a player, it's like shifting your thinking into like I could be a player. What does that look like? How do I think of the world?
Yeah.
It's affected me in funny ways. Where just like I'm out, I'm here with family, and of course, your family's your family. It's like your mom's going to be your mom. We all manage relationships like that, and it's family. So all that aside, talking with family, interacting with folks around everywhere in life, 99%, I'll start having like they could initiate conversations about anything. I mean, we're talking like what we're having for lunch, and or even just if you want to get real philosophical about that, like the local food, where the food came from, or even the politics. Um, and for me, I'm just thinking at it from such a separated, sort of elevated frame that I have to like convert my thinking into observer thinking, I guess you might say,
Yeah.
to like relate to like the politics. Or if I start, it's like being a Bitcoiner and you start thinking, oh, I'm just um, impulsively going on a little rant about Bitcoin, and then I have to rein myself in, and people are like, "What?" It's like that, but
Right.
it, not just Bitcoin, but like with everything. My thinking and frame about everything. People are like, "Oh, Trump," or "Oh, Biden," or "Oh, the big beautiful bill," or "Oh, socialism," or "Oh, capitalism," and I'm just like, my mom will be like, "Well, but what do you think about this or that?" And I'm just like, I mean, superficially, I have opinions as a capitalist, but it's like, Mom, it doesn't matter. I don't care. I don't want to have this conversation, really.
Right.
I really don't want to. I don't want to have this conversation because it does not matter. Or we could like we might agree, we might disagree, but it's like this drama that keeps us busy.
Hmm.
And I want to spend time with family on the beach here and think about what I want to do when I retire. You know, like
Yeah.
or hone my craft.
Hmm.
I don't want to get caught up in the emotion and drama about what did Trump score in his golf tournament this week. I
Right.
don't care.
Right.
So
Well, to your earlier point, like you're a bleeding sheep. You're still gonna get your ass shaved, right? Your ass is still getting shaved in the morning. It doesn't matter like what you guys are thinking or saying or people. I love when people go when everyone figures out what this is, we're all gonna rise up, and it's literally just nah. Like,
well,
it's
you think of the
not anymore. Like, okay, yeah, good luck with that. Let's see how that goes.
what
You know,
was the in 2008 2009 the Wall Street protest. What was that? Uh,
like that was
well,
I mean, that was literally like the sheep stampeded and they ran and tore up one part of the ranch. So that's it.
yeah,
They did is they said we're not leaving this corner of the ranch, and the farmer went okay, and then they tolerated it for a little while, and then they sent a bunch of dogs in and said move, and they went okay, and that was it. That was like that's the functional equivalent. If you're a sheep farmer, you just herded up the sheep, you let them sit there and pout in the corner for a while, and then you went back to farming sheep. Like you didn't, nothing changed. They didn't do anything. They didn't affect, like, oh, we passed some new rule that affects how resources are distributed. All that does is make it easier for one person to control those resources than someone else. So all you did was just change the way the player who's moving the chess pieces around, he goes, oh, I can't move that piece that way. Oh, that's too bad. Well, I'll just move this piece,
yeah,
but I'm still going to accumulate more resources. They're still going to accumulate at the top. And like for me, like when I hear people talking about capitalism, they go, "Oh, capitalism is the best." Blah, 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 blah. I go, that's a rule for a resource. That's a way to manage resources. It happens to be more effective at extracting more resources from your resources, right? Like your resources become more productive under capitalism, but it still goes to the top. It still concentrates into the few people that are pulling the levers. And sooner or later, that concentration gets bad enough that the people that are fans of the other isms, like socialism or communism, come on and go, look how unfair this is. Look, we can fix this by our ism. And so when enough of those resources go and flock towards the new ism, capitalism declines, socialism rises. These people have power, but the problem with socialism and communism is they're great ways to extract resources. They're great ways to control resources. The resources are still going to flow straight up to the top, but the people, the resources themselves deplete faster. So that's why it doesn't last as long. That's why it collapses faster. And then it's going to reset and it's going to go back to the capitalist way, and those people are going to rise up and rinse and repeat throughout history. That's what you get. That's the nature of the game. But to think that your
yeah,
particular ism is somehow better for you, it's like it makes you more comfortable, but it also just makes you more valuable to capture, right? So I don't put a lot of faith in isms. Is all isms are a means to acquire power. That's all they are. They're just a way to acquire
yeah,
power and control of resources. And so if you think your particular ism is better than someone else's ism, that means you're very much a resource and you are playing a resource game. You are acting like a resource. You are being a resource, and you will be exploited like a resource. And then you'll get your ass shaved just every morning, no matter what. It's not going to matter. And sooner or later, as capitalism or whatever ism you happen to be under, you're just going to notice, hey, my ass keeps getting shaved more often. It's getting further up my ass, so now it's in my back. And wait a minute, I'm running out of fur here, and that's where
no,
the
it's
is going to come in. You know,
it's better for you if we all get shaved more.
right?
You can feel the breeze feel good,
Right,
and and a rising tide, rising fleece raises all sheep.
exactly.
So
And they're going to
um,
change your diet. And they're going to change what you're eating and all that kind of. But you don't have any say in the matter, right? You're just a thing to be exploited. Like you have no more say in the matter than the sheep does in the ranch. You just
shave me harder, daddy. The
Daddy.
if communism is a game, I might say it's called because daddy say so,
Yeah,
and maybe the version of non-capitalism we have in the states is kind of more of a mommy may I,
yeah,
and I'm trying to think of a more capitalist type society, but the games are not hardly even like they're quite. Um, directed and managed. It's not even hardly monopoly. It's kind of like mommy may I. Bitcoin becomes sort of like, where do you want to go today?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, it
different
elevates
game.
the person that's moving a piece, right? Like a lot of people, I hear people all the time say, "Well, we're just a pawn in this big game." I go, "You're not even a pawn, dude. Like you're not even the paint on the board. Like you don't matter, right? At all. Like what you think matter doesn't matter. What you vote doesn't matter. What you act doesn't matter. You want to rise up doesn't matter. The second everyone rises up, that's an opportunity for someone else to come and direct you as a resource. That's it. Like that's all you're doing. So when the people talk about my rights and this and that and the other thing, I go, well, that's yeah. As far as it is valuable to extract resources from you, those rights uphold. The second you become less valuable as a resource, those rights go out the window. And so, the harder they squeeze the grape, the less you're going to get. I mean, that's
Yeah,
the game gets played because they need to maximize how much resources they extract. Like I said at the beginning, that's the matrix, dude. That's the matrix we're all in, and it's like waking up as Neo and then going like, "Oh, well, here's a different matrix I can hop into, and that's going to fix everything." I go, "No, you're still in the matrix, dude. Like, you can't bounce from matrix to matrix to matrix, hoping one of the matrices is going to set you free. You just have to get out of the matrix. And the only way to get out of the matrix is to be one of the people that is pushing the buttons on how the matrix works, right? So,
yeah, and you're still on the farm when the animals rise up and they say, two legs bad, four legs good, and then we're gonna tear it down. Okay, yeah, four legs good, and then next thing you know, it's like four legs good, two legs better.
right.
Reference the Animal Farm. If you, for those who've read the book, the oligarchy remains in charge. The seats at the table may shift around and change, or be polished up, or the puppet is a new puppet. But behind the scenes and the seats at the table, effectively, it's an oligarchy. Whether it's communism or capitalism or whatever, it boils down to ultimately, and it ends up being an oligarchy of elites, and they're in charge, and you're sort of maybe the paint on the board.
If you're
Um,
lucky. Well, I mean, think about it like this. It's like a cattleman, right? Like if you got a guy who's driving a herd across the desert, right? The cattleman has the choice of like using, like coercion or force, right? It's the whip or the prod, right? And they keep the herd going. The bandit, it is to the bandit's benefit to create chaos, to cause a stampede, so he can take your herd, right? That's the game of competitive resource capture. There's someone who has stuff, someone else is coming in trying to find ways to disrupt that so he can take stuff. And so once the bandit finds a way to cause a stampede, finds a way to disrupt the herd, he's now in the position of now I have to either use the whip or the prod, and I need to control this herd. And then the cattleman becomes the bandit, and he has to figure out a new way to convince the herd to come back to you. So like your example was great. You go like the sheep go, hey, two legs bad, four legs good. But what that really means is there's a two leg here that's going two legs. We're going to do things this way. Another two legs comes along and goes, hey, we're going to give you free grass and we're going to give you open ranges. You're going to have way more sheep to breed with and blah, 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 blah. They're promising things to disrupt this two legs control. So all the herd does is go like, we like this two leg. Now we like this two leg. Now we like, and they can rise up. They can fight each other. They can go, we're splitting whatever, but there's two people pulling the strings on both sides. So, like I said, capitalism you could say is the prod, communism is the whip, but either way, you're beef. Like doesn't matter how you're getting herded, you're still beef. And if you think,
yeah,
hey, this guy says the whip is better because of reasons, yeah, we use a whip, but we get better. We don't have to eat grain; we eat grass. Okay, well, let's go with the whip guy for a while. Until the whip guy goes, okay, well, you don't get grass anymore. You're going back to grain. He goes, but that's what we had. Yeah, not only do you get grain, you get less grain, and we're whipping you. So they go, oh well, let's go back this way. It's gone back and forth, but it never changes. You're still being herded. You're still being driven. You're still being exploited. Period. So,
yeah. Let's see.
what do you got
There's
going on?
like
Hey,
I
Bird.
got a little friend visiting.
Nice.
He's
There's our special guest. That's who we were talking about.
our special guest, Robin. No, that's not a robin. That's a pigeon.
Hmm.
Oh, he flew away. Um,
Camera shy.
yeah. No, you're spot on.
Our special guest. Anyway,
So you're writing
an article.
an article.
Yeah.
It's very you look at things from a very high level. which enlightens me and gets me to rethink everything. I'm. It's weird, you know. For the many years that if I were to look back and document or articulate the journey that a Bitcoiner takes, it's funny in a way when I look, and I guess you could do this for many things in your life, but when I look back on the Bitcoin path, not that it's cringeworthy, it's just kind of like acknowledging how naive I was at times. You know, even just a couple of years ago, Bitcoin path, and I was like, oh, some of these crypto ventures are pretty darn interesting.
Yeah.
And then it's like, wait, no, they got to have a token, they got to be on an exchange, it's got to have a fiat value, and then they pull it at some point, or no, the who owns this anyway?
Right.
What are the tokenomics on this thing? And it took me maybe a year to like say no, nope, nope. I I understand better. And then even as I became a Bitcoiner, it was like, yep, I'm a Bitcoin maxi.
Right.
And then I still had so much to learn. And then that takes you into everything in terms of just socioeconomic stuff, and the future and history and just what in the hell is going on around here? What's
Yeah.
been going on this whole time?
Right.
To your book, The Great Realignment, you get into history there. And part of it for me reading that, I was just little epiphanies I would have about just what in the heck has been going on since forever,
Right.
basically. Since forever. The nature of the game, since forever. Competitive resource capture and the understood laws of physics behind that. They were what they were.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Bitcoin comes along and you'd be like, oh, yeah, right. Bitcoin's going to do all that. Better believe it.
Yeah.
Pretty,
Surprisingly enough, yes. Like
yeah.
100%. Like there's a reason I'm super bullish on Bitcoin, and it's not because number go up or because it's going to be money or you learn all about meat and seed oils. Yeah, exactly. And don't forget to sun your balls. Speaking of which, right before I hopped on this call, I actually took a walk and I took my shirt off. I was like getting my vitamin D, getting my Steven Lubka on. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, like sun your balls, eat meat, and don't drink seed oil. You know, it's
I was sitting out on just right in public on Waikiki Beach and I just pulled my balls out, shook them around.
yeah,
It's nice. Nice
yeah.
feeling.
It apparently boosts your testosterone. Oh, and don't forget to smoke
Travis,
creatine while you're there.
yes. Yep. Snorkel naked. Travis, I didn't want to forget since you're here. Um, Bitcoin veterans coming November, right? So we got plans to be there and give a talk about self custody and a Bitcoiner's journey there. So that'll be fun. Um, Bitcoin veterans,
Yeah.
Nashville.
What is that?
When
Like,
is that again?
what are they? This is my new look, man. I'm going this way. I'm going this route. I'm going to stand on business.
Where's well for our brand? I like the experienced professional look.
Really? You don't like standing on business?
I like the cargo pants, the polo shirts, and
Yeah,
the charismatic but serious face.
sure. Yeah, need your workshop info submission still. Oh
Yeah, I
my
know.
God, Fritz,
I
slacking.
know. I I'm working on it. I've had so Fourth of July. Hey, I celebrate Independence Day, so I
Right.
also had those proud feelings the other night. It gets and here's my Bitcoiner brain. I'm thinking Happy Independence
A
from what?
3% tax.
Uh, Money? Israel? Uh,
Shh, you said the I word.
I said, I said a word.
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So happy Independence Day 200 years ago.
right.
Um,
Kind of.
Veterans Day, November 10th. That'll be perfect.
Yeah.
So
That's gonna be nice.
planning for it.
That's gonna be dope. There's actually a barbecue place in Memphis I want to go check out. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's a
How
lot
far
of
is
good
that?
places there. I can't remember. I just saw a video. I bookmarked it on Twitter, but I was just like, it was like two British guys eating barbecue for the first time. I think it was kind of a setup. These guys, like, they're sitting there with a fork and a knife. This guy comes and goes, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" You just stop right there, buddy. That's not what we do with barbecue here. You pick that up with your fingers and you eat it. And then these guys just like their brains exploded because they're like, "Oh my god, this is the most tender meat I've ever had in my life," and the sauce and everything. I'm like, "Oh, I want to try that." I'm a big barbecue guy, so like that
Nice.
sort of Kansas City, Mississippi kind of like slathered in goo barbecue. Like I'm all
Oh yeah. Well, in some of that barbecue, it's not your regular. Some of that sauce, it's more of a vinegary. It's a different kind of a barbecue than the ketchup sauce.
yeah. I like the ketchup sauce. That
I like both.
nice sweet like Kansas City barbecue style kind of thing. I'm all about it. But I'm kind of I got relations from Missouri, so I'm all
Oh,
about it.
cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
What were you talking about though before we sidetracked? Bitcoin good, fiat bad.
So celebrating Independence Day, but
Oh yeah,
independence from what? So Waikiki Beach last night. I was busy with family. We're celebrating stuff. My point being that I couldn't fill out the form for the Bitcoin veterans event, but I'm getting to it because I was busy last night with family celebrating my son, watching fireworks. Literally, if you look behind me off this balcony, right behind me, the fireworks were right there. And I personally, I feel it makes me in the deep cockles of my heart. I feel deep pride and gratefulness for being here where we are now because of the founding fathers. Imperfect as it all was, corruptible as it kind of became, I get it. But that seed that gave us something in the deep cockles of my heart, I feel just pride and gratefulness and patriotism.
hmm,
And then I see a lot of people celebrating and just a massive herd down there on the beach, and everybody's cheering and stuff. And then that little cynical part of my brain, now it's my Bitcoin frame, and I'm not trying to be a toxic black seeder, um, black pillar, but part of me is kind of like independence from what? Maybe it was good for a while, but today, independence in what way? Travis mentions 20 to 30% independence from taxes that you wish you had now.
yeah.
That's right.
That's the beauty of it, man. Is like you are a very productive resource. So you're doing great, and they're squeezing you for about 30% of your productivity. I think people will probably flame me hard for this, but I think one of the greatest inventions in the game of resource capture was paying tax in specie or fiat. I go, what a genius thing to do, right? Like in terms of like how do you squeeze resources out of people more effectively? Because like if you go to some third world banana republic or something like that, like they don't really rely on taxes. They just steal shit from you. And but the second you go like, hey, you need to pay with these little bits of paper that we create out of thin air, it does two great things for you. It makes it so you have to come up with more of that shit. And then you can use that same shit to buy stuff from your very now productive subjects, right? So that's pretty clever. You kind of go, ooh, that was a pretty interesting refinement on the game of competitive resource capture. Like whoever came up with that, I don't think is gone down in the history books as some sort of a genius, but in terms of the long running game of competitive resource capture, where the beginning was just like, give me 10% of your wheat, we're going to bonk you on the head. Now they go, hey, just you have to figure out how to trade this stuff amongst yourselves and produce enough that you can get some more of it. It automatically makes your resources more productive. They have to be more productive to pay your tax. And then because they're paying you the tax, you have more stuff that you can get from them because they're more productive. So it's kind of like finding some way to make the sheep pay you in some little bits of paper, but the only way they can get the paper is by making more wool, or making more meat. You go, hey, that's a pretty good deal. Like I get to just take this, I get to create this thing out of thin air, make the sheep pay it, and then I get more stuff out of the sheep. Awesome. It's like what a
Right.
deal. So yeah, escape the matrix, man.
Well, and so when you think of, I hope you didn't freeze up there, Daniel. There you. Oh, you froze for a second. You're here. Well, so also when you think about 20 to 30% overt tax,
Hmm.
okay, now talk about every couple of years or so you pass a big beautiful budget that just adds 5 or 7 trillion that you either issue garbage bonds for that the Fed buys or that the Fed just simply prints money to cover. That's not only taking, so you're on the board, and not only are they kind of taking some chips out of your pile overtly, they're tilting the whole board their direction, and you don't even notice it. You're just kind of like, my chips are sliding. Everything's more expensive.
Hmm.
Huh? Do I even notice, or is this just inflation? You know what? You ask the man on the street, what's inflation? Oh, things just cost more over time. Why? Oh, I don't know. Cost of doing business. People want more. People always. So for a long time, I was like, what is inflation? Well, people want to catch up here, and then they want to catch up here, and so they want to catch up here. So it's just natural, right? I don't know. That's how it happens. 2%, that's normal. Wait, no, 3%, yeah, that's normal. 10%, no, that's normal.
Right.
What is inflation? It's theft.
Well,
Let me. What do you say to my saying inflation is theft?
well, I mean, like it's theft if you don't consider yourself a resource, right? Like if you think of yourself as an individual person and a player and a person that deserves dignity and yada yada yada, you go, yeah, well, of course it's stealing from you. The point is that that is the point of the game, is to make you more productive and then take as much of it as possible. So that's how the game gets played. Like you can say, oh, they're stealing from me. I go, well, that was never really yours to begin with because you're just a resource. Just like the sheep doesn't sit there and get to go, hey, you're taking more wool from me, then you're not allowed to take more wool from me. And they go, yeah, you're right, because we kind of set that rule just to keep you guys productive, but we're still going to take the wool. Like, so you can go, hey, you're stealing my wool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do about it? Nothing, because you're a sheep. Like, they're just going to sit there and listen to you go, "Ma, it's not mine. Ma, you're stealing." And it's like, well, that's the game. So when people go, "Oh, capitalism better," I go, "Well, yeah, until they figure out better ways to squeeze the shit out of you,
Uh huh.
shave your ass." Then you go, "Okay, well, capitalism didn't work because we all ended up poor and they all ended up rich. They get all the stuff, we get nothing." And then it's going to reset, and some socialist banana head's going to come in and convince a bunch of the resources to come over and do it their way. And then you're going to lose all your resources that you gained, and then you get to go that direction, and then they're going to drain resources even faster. And if everybody drains resources fast enough, it just resets the game to the basics of the game. Everyone gangs up, and it's a bunch of gangs, and you end up in Somalia, where a bunch of warlords control everything, and nobody is productive, and everything sucks. Right?
Uh huh.
But sooner or later that game's going to refine, and they're going to, people just like being productive and not being held down for very long. So that's just the cyclic nature of the competitive resource capture game. So you're right, as a resource it's kind of sucks that they're taking more resources, they're exploiting you further, but that's what their job is as a player, to squeeze as much juice out of you as possible without you converting over to a different ism.
Right. Yeah. Well, and so like with free speech and everything, uh, we saw it. We saw it. What was it? A couple summers ago. People can up and dumpster fire towns and set up encampments for a period of time, and it's sort of tolerated to a point where it's like, see, we have free speech. Look at how free speechy we are. Does anything change? I mean, you might say we recovered from COVID with a new understanding on what a sociopath type governance can be. Perhaps we learned from that. I still see weirdly people wearing masks here and there where like they must be very sick um, or mentally ill. I don't know, but
Well, I mean that, like when you see like the chop and all that kind of stuff, that is a power play. That is a player trying to control more resources. They go, hey, if we can let this proliferate, we get to control resources under our new ism, right?
uh huh,
The Cultural Revolution in China was a new ism. They went from the old ism to the new ism, and the people that pushed the new ism got all the power. They're still in power to this day, right? So those isms are very, very.
Later, Travis. Travis got to run.
Oh,
Sorry to
take it
interrupt.
easy, Travis. Have a good one, man.
Yeah.
So those isms can be very effective in, corralling resources. But the thing is, if you're a low power player and you want to increase your power dramatically, come in with a new ism, right? Like, and just wait. Like that guy that just is leading all the polls in New York. Like, he's a new ism.
Oh. Oh yeah. Yeah. Right.
Zohan, the whatever the fortune teller, isn't that who it is?
Yeah. Zoltar.
Zoltar, yeah, the
Um,
Zoltar fortune teller.
Khomeini. I know. Is it another Khomeini? How many Khomeinis are there? It seems like there's a lot of. There's been a lot of Khomeinis. Um, yeah, it is. It is straight up communism. It would be entertaining, perhaps. I don't know. I don't live in New York City. It'd be like Escape from New York, but um, morbidly entertaining to have that kind of governance and just see how that works. Um,
Oh, it's going to be
like,
catastrophically bad, but he's going
yeah,
to be
I,
powerful.
yeah,
He'll command a lot of resources. Gavin Newsom is in
yeah,
command of an enormous amount of resources by using the same playbook.
yeah.
The mayor of Los Angeles is in control of an enormous amount of resources by using the same playbook. So, and people, like, if people put faith in their particular ism, they get exploited, period. That's all there is to it. I don't care
Yeah.
which you pick, just one ism, capitalism in particular, provides you more material comforts as it goes. But sooner or later you're gonna get squeezed dry. That's where that game ends. Has to.
So, in your view, and this is sort of a paradigm shift for me in a little bit. I think I understand. So, you're saying on one hand, you can say, and I've been here where communism goes down this path, and for me, it's a dark one. Capitalism goes down another path, and I think it has much more the potential to be some sunlight and fresh air and an opportunity for anyone who wants to participate. Bitcoin layered on top of that short circuits a lot of things and basically allows you access to be a player and not sort of more of an observer or a resource. And so whether it's communism or capitalism, both can fleece you.
All isms are a means to acquire power, which is a means to acquire resources. So I don't care what your ism is. I don't care what your ism says it's going to do. The ultimate aim of prolificating or proffering an ism to somebody is to convince the resources to be under your control. So,
Right.
like capitalism, it increases material comforts of the resources dramatically. It dramatically increases the amount and a type of resources available because it is predicated on creativity, right? Like, you need to be creative to create more resources. And socialism, communism, social based isms and communal based isms don't have that. They are there to strip resources and reorganize resources that are created under the capital formation of the ism. But sooner or later, capitalism has to squeeze you like a grape. That's the only place it can go, and you can see it right now. Like, there's 20 or 30 people in the United States control like 80% of the resources. You go, well, so if capitalism's so great, how come all these guys own everything?
Here's my argument. My argument about that is that I think we're kind of told that we're living in a capitalist economy, and yet the government intervenes and subsidizes friends and bails out others and pushes down some and passes legislation that prevents it increases the barrier to entry from any small guy and benefits the big ones. So
Correct.
we don't have capitalism.
And you never will. It's impossible. That's what I'm saying. The ism is the thing that they sell you on so they can extract resources from you. But there is no, like, people go, we need a free market. It's never going to happen, dude. That's zero possibility of that ever manifesting. In a competitive environment, there is zero possibility that people are going to free trade. Like, it doesn't happen.
I see what you're saying. So
Like,
let's say if I just call it the controlling group, if I call that the oligarchy, whether it's communism or capitalism, that oligarchy always tilts the board, always pulls the threads. It don't matter what you call it. The oligarchy runs, and we're all a resource.
correct. like 100% of the time. So when people pine for things that can't exist, you go, you know, you're under the influence of an ism, right? Which means you
Yeah,
your resource. So if you go, well, if we could just get everyone to do, and they go, that's never going to happen. Like that's communism's central flaw. They go, well, if everyone just played by the rules, then communism will work great. You go, yeah, but that doesn't happen. If everyone would play by the rules of capitalism, like pure laissez-faire capitalism, if everyone played by those rules, then we would have, you know, free everything, everybody be free, blah blah blah. But that doesn't happen because not everyone plays by the rules. No one even knows what the rules are. And the ultimate thing is if you really boil down the game of competitive resource capture, you go, there are no rules. So if you approach a game and you go, okay, the object of the game is to get as much stuff as possible, and there's no rules on how I do it. You go, well, how do you do that? So the base instinct is to go like gang up and steal shit, right? But if you gang up and steal shit, someone else is going to gang up and fight you. So you end up fighting, right? So the next layer is okay, well, we're going to group up in coalitions. Like these two groups of gangs are going to fight these two groups of gangs. We're going to fight over control. And you go, okay, well, sooner or later that incurs costs as well. So you scale it up another notch and scale it up another notch and scale it up another notch. The second you are able to convince your resources to fight and kill each other on your behalf, you've now suddenly changed the game forever. And when you can do that, when you wield significant enough control over your resources for them to engage in active combat without any need or because they don't gain anything from it, right? Like if you're working on a farm and you're in like 1700 England, you gain nothing from going and fighting on behalf of the person who's trying to capture the resources from the kingdom across the river. And just like these people gain nothing from fighting the people that are trying to come in. Like what that is showing you is that you are being directed as a resource and you're being exploited as a resource, right? So that's
yeah,
so capitalism is a very, 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 very well refined version of that because it's rooted in tournament style competition on a European continent. That's where capitalism was born, right? And tournament style competition means that you have refinements. And when you introduce taxation, you go, hey, this is a huge refinement to the game. This changes the game because now we can get these people to be more productive. We have more resources to command, which gives us more resources to try and capture other resources. So you start creating these markets, these market dynamics. But at the end, at the top level of all those markets is always we get the control. We get the resources. We control what happens to these resources. So you might make the lives of your resources better. You might make the lives. It's like if a sheep farmer figures out, like, hey, if we give our sheep massages and we let them have like sheep iPhones and sheep distractions and sheep games, they become far more productive. They produce way more wool when we do it that way. So you go, oh, pretty cool. Let's do that. So we get a lot more sheep. They become a lot more. They make a lot more wool. You have a lot more things that you can collect from them. Meanwhile, the people on the other side are still are looking at that. Going, oh, that's a really productive resource. We want to come take that. And the only way they can take it is through internal strife and convincing the sheep to follow the new ism. But then they just get sheared down to nothing, so that whole game has to reset again. So then you have the capitalists come in and go, okay, look, we're going to feed you more stuff. We're going to put the massages back in. We're going to give you little sheep iPhones and sheep games and sheep distractions. And then you become more productive. And then someone else comes along and steals it. Round and round and round you go. So this is like a late stage version of two guys grouping up and going, those are my strawberries. Nope, they're mine. Boom. Oh, I won the fight. They're my strawberries until someone else boom. And they go, oh, well, I guess they're your strawberries now. Well, I'm going to go get some friends and we're going to take the strawberries back. Rinse and repeat for 12,000 years. You got modern democracy, constitutions, kings, banana republics, armies, and nuclear weapons. So that's just
yeah. So you might say that perhaps capitalism is a version of this game that is a little more sustainable because it recognizes, longer term competitive practices. Communism, perhaps less so, because it's basically brute force because daddy say so,
right.
and then 90 million people are dead.
Right.
They're kind of less sustainable. And then so a legit argument could be from people that believe in the isms is that, well, real communism hasn't been tried.
Right.
And you could say, true. And human nature being what it is, you will never have like real communism. You're going to have an oligarchy that kills you.
Correct.
And you can say, well, real capitalism hasn't been tried.
Correct.
Um, True to an extent. So communism and capitalism have existed in, like, say, a small village and for a while, but then you get nation states and what we have now. True communism and, say, true capitalism have not existed, and
ever.
what we have are different oligarchies that direct it in different ways. But that is the competitive resource capture system, and
Right,
you've perhaps seen the meme of the grid of the political spectrum of, like, left and right and up and down. And then there's a Buddha who's gone third dimensionally elevated above that. So it's
right,
like, here's all the politics. Where do you land on the political spectrum? And the Bitcoin Buddha has just kind of gone, wah,
right,
I'm done. I'm done with all of it.
right.
We're
Well,
done with all of it.
it allows you to stop being a resource, is what Bitcoin does. And that's why I say it's such a profound thing. And it also changes the way the players can capture resources. So it changes the game. And I think people really grossly underestimate what that means because most people don't realize what game they're in. They believe in their ism. They go, my ism's going to be great. When my ism is in command, everything's going to be puppy dogs and rainbows. But
Yeah.
like if you look at the way capitalism, you said it perfectly. There's never been pure capitalism in the world. That's the libertarian argument. I go because it can't exist because that's not what it's there for. Pure communism has never existed, and if we just did pure communism, all these arguments would go away. Well, it can't exist because that's not what it's there for. Like you have to understand the behaviors that are being manipulated to make you to to leverage your behavior, right? Like every human being needs community. Every human being needs socializing. Every human being needs creativity and creating things, right? So the communal thing, they leverage that to manipulate you as a resource. The social people, they use that to leverage you as a resource. The capital people use this to leverage you as a resource. This one happens to be most productive because it fosters the most creativity. But the object is still to extract. These people can use social cues and social behavior. They can manipulate you based on your need for socialization, but they still have to extract from you. They can leverage your need for community, but they're still extracting from you. But human beings, in order to thrive, need all three. And technically, there's a fourth. There's spirituality. So they're able
Uh,
to lever spirituality to extract resources. They extract you based on your creativity, they extract from you based on your social need, and they extract from you based on your communal need. So individual and creativity, social cohesion, community, spirituality. Those are the four tenets that every human being needs to be a healthy human being and survive. These people manipulate, they pull these as levers to move the herd one direction or the other. But the ultimate goal is to control who you are, what resources you control. Does that make sense?
tell, Describe to me the difference between the social cohesion and the community.
Well, like a community is like a group of people that get together and they do things in a communal fashion, right? They go like, "Hey, we're collective effort," right? But socialization is like me and you getting along as people. Like I'm a social animal. I need friends. I can be part of a
Okay.
community and have a circle of friends. So I have a social community and a community that I'm part of, right? So they're sort of interrelated, which is why they're so closely related in the way they manifest as political levers to pull on people. They're very, very
Right.
closely related, but they're not quite exactly the same, right? So they go, hey, socialism is about like we redistribute resource and this, that, and the other thing. Communism is about there's no ownership, right? Everybody communally owns everything. So there's no leader. Somehow the leader always shows up. Somehow there's always a leader in the socialist group. Somehow there's always a leader in the individual capital group. And somehow there's always a leader in the spiritual group. But they lever the idea of like they're manipulating your need for community. They're manipulating your need for social cohesion. They're manipulating your need for individuality. They're manipulating your need for spirituality. But there's always, every single time for the last 12,000 years, there's never been a system that's based on one of those pillars. It didn't have a leader at the top. It didn't have a structure at the top. It didn't have people that were dictating what that looks like at the top. So it's always free first flow up because the job is for people to capture resources. How they do it is by the way they manipulate you. That's it. But
Gotcha.
Bitcoin changes that. Bitcoin makes it so like
Yeah.
I'm not a resource anymore. I'm not a resource to be exploited because I don't need to exist within your system.
So
I
with Yeah. So let's like reframe it in terms of we have Bitcoin, and so you can fulfill your social, community, creativity, and spiritual needs because you have that foundation. Say, is that
Because
what
it
you're saying?
makes it local. Because all it does is it makes it local, right?
I
It's there is no lever to pull on you then. Because if you remember, the object of the game is competitive resource capture. If you capture and control resources, then you dictate how the game gets played. You dictate what moves you make. You dictate what levers you pull. But if you already capture and control resources that no one can take from you ever, then you
yeah,
go, I choose which levers to pull. I choose which things I incorporate or don't incorporate. I don't have to follow your communal idea because I have resources. I control resources. The rest of these people do not control resources. They have paper
yeah.
claim resources, but they don't control them. But
You
you,
can't
right,
like the soccer game analogy. You cannot steal from anyone else, and no one can steal from you. And then the game changes.
forever. And
Yeah,
it changes dramatically for the people that capture and control this resource. There's a reason why Michael Saylor is going balls deep as hard as he can to capture as much of that resource as possible, because he's recognized this is the most valuable resource. This is the intangible resource that no one else is going to be able to take ever. It doesn't matter if you got nukes. It doesn't matter if you got a navy, warships, all this kind of stuff. You blow up all the buildings. You can't take that resource from that group. Whatever group controls those resources is going to be very, very powerful, right?
right. Yep.
So like I look at, like, if you think about, like, if you're a banana republic somewhere and you went through all the trouble to become in control of the resources of that banana republic, everyone goes like, how come they don't develop their infrastructure? How come they don't build things up? How come they don't do? Because that makes them a valuable resource to be captured by a larger player. So it's in their best interest to not ever develop their economy. They're the leader of that community, the leader of that country. It's in their best interest as someone who finally captured some resources, finally became a player on the board, to never ever develop that resource, to just make sure they keep people in poverty as long as possible, because that keeps them in control, that keeps them directing resources, and they're never going to be a thing of a target of capture. Which is why, if you look at something like Singapore, you go, that's a remarkable thing. But how did Singapore rise to this prominence? Because the large player, China, right next door, looks at those little smaller satellite countries as test grounds. They go, let's let them test some ideas. And
Interesting.
they're also isolated by an ocean. You can't just march down there and start taking their shit. And they don't have any natural resources, so they have to create things. But I guarantee you, if they found like a huge oil reserve underneath Singapore, that's going to be a target for capture overnight.
Right.
Like, it's going to change everything, right? So like El Salvador is in that position right now. They go, we want to be like the Singapore model. I go, ooh, that's a tough one because you are geographically locked to very powerful players. And because
Yeah.
you've got players that have already come in and tinkered with your resources to exploit you. So he has a really, really, really tough time. Nayib Bukele is doing a great job of it, and it's going to be a tricky ride. If he can navigate all the little pitfalls of not getting captured by a larger resource, he's going to
Yeah.
make a very powerful resource for himself. But he's also very smartly collecting Bitcoin. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
That's going to
Right.
a fundamental shift in the way El Salvador is handling things. But I think if you're a little ding dong, if you're fucking Panama, if you're, Costa Rica, if you're any of those little satellite countries, Belize or, Nicaragua or something like that, like, you might want to look at that model. You might want to start thinking about it. And then you might want to start building up your economy. And more importantly, you might want to start building up your defensive capabilities, right? Like that would be a smart play in that region. But if you look at what Naive is doing with the like prisoner work and prisoner labor and all that kind of stuff, he's building up that infrastructure. He's doing it in the background. He's doing it quietly, and he's not ruffling like international commerce feathers by doing it. So
Right.
this little sneaky thing to try and develop your resource without it getting stolen from you. So it's a tough path he's got ahead, but you know,
Yeah.
Godspeed.
Very interesting. I look I look forward to your article, and it just I just now during this episode I just had a little epiphany, if you will, just a paradigm shift in my thinking about all of this because I was ready for it, but I was sort of like thinking around these ideas. And thank you for elevating me to kind of the next layer to this onion here because I was quasi aware of it, just kind of like sort of like you're aware of what it kind of smells like, but you don't know what to call it.
Right.
And you just gave me uh, some insight. So
Oh, that's
thank
awesome.
you.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
welcome.
thank you.
I like this. I've been thinking about this shit for 40 years. You know what I'm saying? So it's and it's I've been through all the stages and I've been through all the isms. Like and yeah, but the more it feels like the Buddha guy, legitimately
Yeah,
inside, I'm just like, oh, okay. Like this is like I genuinely feel like when people talk about like seeing the Matrix and this, that, and I go, oh, I think I actually see the Matrix now, and it's
right.
clear, and you just go, oh. But once you do, everything seems so much simpler, right? It strips away a lot of like the tension and the wrangling and where does this come from, and you just kind of go, oh, this is actually a pretty simple game boiled to its roots. And I happen to have access, by the grace of God, I have access to the new resource before anyone else has recognized it yet. So wow, what a neat thing.
Yeah,
I see the Matrix and I've got my Neo shoes on. You see what I'm saying? And you do too.
yeah, yeah. I'm there with you. You. So for a lot of people, they can begin to see the matrix and really understand that, and then still kind of get stuck with opposing isms.
Right.
And I was there for a while too. Like, oh, I see the matrix, but if only we had real capitalism.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and it's
Right.
so say, if only we had real capitalism, it's somewhat akin to if only we had real communism.
Right.
That's not how the game works, except for Bitcoin, where I think with Bitcoin, you're aware of the matrix, and then Bitcoin allows you to step back and reframe everything from if you thought you had base principles, have a seat.
Yeah.
We're talking base principles,
Right. Right.
uh,
100%.
paradigm shifting rules that aren't isms.
Yeah.
So,
That's the beauty of it is those isms are going to have to adjust. The only way the isms will work 5 years from now is if they change them dramatically. If they want to continue exploiting resources, e.g., me and you, people, whatever, they're going to have to change those isms and they're going to have to make them more pro-human, or else their ability to wield those resources is going to diminish dramatically, right? And there's a whole new category of player that just got birthed, right? It's
yeah,
like the game of chess, and you just go, "Hey, we just introduced a new player to the game of chess. This new piece does it's like a mix between a knight and a bishop." And you go, "Oh, what's that do to the game of chess?" Oh, well, that everything I knew about chess just went out the window because that changes. Like I used to know all the patterns, I used to know all the moves, I used to know all the openings, but now there's this like new player on the board that does very different things. Huh? How do I do that? Oh,
yeah,
so they have to completely rethink how they play the game. They just haven't realized it yet. And
yeah,
the second they do is the second you're going to be one of the people that gets to go, I already know how to play this piece because I already had it.
yeah.
I am one of those pieces. Sorry. You don't get to
So
do.
it'd be like I have a pawn, and I would like to be a queen. And you don't have to get all the way to the end if you're lucky enough to convert to a queen anymore. You can say the only winning move is to play. And when it's your turn, make your play Bitcoin.
Right. Yeah.
And
100.
it'd be like my pawn's a queen now. Oh, whoa, whoa, the game just changed.
Correct. And
And but
like I was saying, it's literally like adding a new piece that no one's ever seen before. You go,
right,
what happens like if you had a pawn that could move like a knight every 3 moves? You go, what's that do to the game of chess? Changes the game entirely. Like every
yeah.
strategy known goes out the window. Right.
And as an imperfect analogy, it's not that you know you the whole angle of what the point of the game is changes because you're not taking out their people against their wishes. They're not taking you out against your wishes. What does that make of the game of chess?
Right.
It's a
Well,
different game.
yeah, it's a completely different game. Like if you had like one trivial piece on the board that you couldn't take, you go, what's that do to the game of chess? Like it can like just imagine like one special like a purple pawn that gets included in the game of chess. You can't take it. It can still attack, but it can't take. And you go, oh, well, that's a different game. Like I want to get as
Right.
many of those pawns as I can, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's they are very imperfect analogies, but that hopefully the article will clear that up. Anyway, we've been going for a while. I guess our special
Yeah.
guest. was the pigeon today. It wasn't.
Special guest pigeon.
Yeah. Our special guest, our
Um,
special guest news will be next week.
yep.
Straight up 10
10
a.m.
a.m. Pacific,
forever.
noon Central, 11 o'clock Mountain. Consistent.
Yeah.
Join us every week. We're going to be here.
Yeah.
We're committed. And, as I stand up, I'm heading down that way with
Yeah.
the end of the podcast. So
Green screen. Whatever, man. It's fake.
it's a green screen, folks.
All right.
Well, but look at my shirt. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Have a
We'll
great day.
catch you later.
Talk to you next week, Fritz.
Cool. We'll see you. Thanks. Bye.